I think this is one of the most exciting times to join a recruitment agency that is either like a small boutique or start your own business. I believe that the big agencies out there are running an old legacy kind of recruitment model, and it's going to make it extremely hard for them to truly leverage AI. I'm Axel, the founder of ClearPath Recruitment here in Tokyo, and I build businesses, I connect people, and I try to share as much of my learnings as possible along the way. In this video, I want to share with you what I mean when I'm saying that we are an AI native recruitment agency, and what I'm generally feeling extremely excited about when it comes to what we're building here at ClearPath. To give you a little bit of context, about a year ago now, I had a chat with a good friend of mine. He's an AI genius, let's just call it. And we were talking about LLMs and how to kind of, build those agents. Back then, it was all about, I guess, context engineering, and the hype was real. Like there was like a lot of FOMO. And I had this chat with my friend, and eventually he's telling me that he's like, "Wow, I'm pretty impressed, Axel, on how well you understand this technology and how all this stuff works." And I remember like being pretty pissed when he said that. And the reason I was pissed is because I told him like, okay, great, I understand this stuff very well, but my life is not changing. And the way I run my business is not changing. So it took me a bit of time to kind of realize that I was just a very well-educated spectator. And as soon as I'm someone who writes a lot, as soon as I wrote that down on paper, it made me realize like this is the moment that most of the people out there will look back at and be like, oh, I missed it. I couldn't capitalize on this whole AI boom. Sure, you understood that it was changing the world, but you didn't really participate. And so that conversation, my friend, made me realize that I was literally in that well-educated spectator seat, which I really wanted to get out of. So I think within a few days, I had a chat to my business partner, which happens to be my sister, Julie. And I told her that I was going to take a step away, a step back from the business to really focus on educating myself on tech and building strong foundations. So over the past 4 or 5 years, I did spend a bit of time to learn about Python scripting, but I never really did build anything. And for me, that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm just going to learn about Python, TypeScript, Next.js, the full stack app, kind of to start building my own solutions. And I did start also using like workflow automation tools like NA10. And after a few days, really, I realized like this was the moment to go all in on AI. The next step that was really interesting for me when it came to my journey into this AI illumination. The next step in my AI journey is pretty much me mapping my job into a decision tree. I start to look into as much as possible, like, AI papers and research papers and like really like stuff that I thought at first like, oh, I won't be able to understand this. But my way of learning is very simple. I have a tendency to just collect as much, materials as possible, content-wise, and then I just listen to it for hours. And so I was listening to people coding. I was listening to, AI PhD holders talking about the latest trends and what's not. And eventually, my goal was like, okay, I'm just going to look at my job and break it down, like record my entire day of work, give it to an AI, and ask it to help me break it down into decisions, a decision tree. So that was the first kind of breakthrough for me. So I broke everything down into a decision tree. And because that changed really my mental model. Recruitment is not only sourcing or writing messages, right? It's a long sequence of decisions that you make with context. And AI is smarter than us. We all agree on that. The only reason it can't beat you yet at your job is usually because it lacks context. So for me, that was a big thing. I did build up this entire decision tree around my job. Then I also did build up my own CRM, which took me forever because I didn't really know how to do it. And along the way, every failure that I had, trying to implement too many features, trying to just do too much at once, every time things were failing. But every time I failed, I learned new things. I started to look into how to deploy stuff on the cloud, like AWS, Vercel, like all those tools. I'm just getting familiar with everything. I start to work with other engineers on GitHub, PRs and stuff like that. Very, I will say, stuff that I would thought like, oh, this is just for engineers. I just got my hands dirty and started really messing with everything. Like that's really kind of how I got into this whole AI journey. And now the question that changed everything for me that I asked myself was, instead of asking myself, how can I use AI to do my job? Why am I just not asking myself, how can I help AI do my job? If we agree on the fact that those models are already way smarter than us, and all they do is lacking context to beat us, why should I not just spend all my time building an infrastructure that allows all the context to be given to the agents? And by that extension, just keep asking myself, how can I help the AI do the job? And from there on, the more I start looking into that kind of question and spending hours obsessing about it, because I have a tendency to obsess with stuff, the more I realized that that was exactly what people were calling AI native. It's just this approach of building everything from an agent-first perspective. And so the entire CRM that I did build, I ended up rebuilding it completely from the perspective of like, I'm never going to use a UI. I don't want to scroll, click on buttons and whatnot. I just want to tell an agent to get the job done. And to me, this is it. This is the AI native recruitment approach. Everything should be somehow handled by an agent. And from there, really, it all became like looking at every small piece of my work and trying to think about like, how can an agent do that? What does an agent need to do a proper job? And how can I validate it? Because don't get me wrong, I'm still very much in the loop, at least for now, because the cool thing about this is there's like this recursive learning where the agents every Friday kind of collect all their mistakes. Everything that goes wrong or that I report as being poorly handled is kind of saved into a log, like, you know, and every Friday I run like a couple of loops where the agents are just looking at it, extracting lessons from it, and consolidating the infrastructure. And so as of now, I'm actually less and less in the loop. And so, yeah, right now, I'm constantly building new products with this AI native approach. The AI native approach being, how can we have the agents do the job? And how can we support the agents as well as possible? And with all the time, because that's the key thing here. I'm not trying to replace my job. What I try to do is to get rid of all the boring stuff so that I can do only one thing, meeting people. I don't want to send JDs. I don't want to schedule interviews. I don't want to, analyze deeply a CV. I don't want to do all that stuff. I just want to meet people. And I want to share as much information as I possibly can to the people that I'm around. And from an LLM perspective, that's just me sharing as much context as possible to be as valuable as possible. And so I'm definitely kind of, overexcited maybe. I'm probably AI pilled or whatever they call it. But this is the way I think about all this stuff these days. And so the reason I want to make this video is, like I said, I understand that there's a lot of hype about AI native and, people using the word pretty often. But to me, this is a significant milestone because now I'm in this next phase where I'm trying to think about how can I somehow have the agents do the job without me being there? Because then, again, all I do is meeting people. At the end of the day, if you want to make money as a recruiter, all you really should care about is your reputation and your ability to have conversation with people that they truly value, right? I do not believe necessarily that people should listen to my advice or to my opinions, but I still believe that my opinion and my advice is worth a lot when it comes to them making a decision. And I think there's a big difference there. And so because I spend no time in the boring stuff and like the admin stuff, my job just becomes meeting people and expanding my knowledge in my industry and just generally connecting the dots. Oh, I met John. John could benefit by knowing Michael, not necessarily just for a job, but because I've just become someone extremely valuable to know, now I become also a way better recruiter. And because my agentic team never forgets to update you, is always on the spot, like never forgets that 3 years ago, you went through this interview at company X and it didn't go well for XYZ reasons. So therefore, I can now help you prepare really well for another interview. Like, we're talking here about never forgetting anything. And so I'm looking at this AI native approach to be the best recruiter possible, not to automate my job, but really to become what I believe is the most important aspect in a recruiter, which is connecting with people, having deep conversation on what matters to them, and me basically meeting companies and understand what are they exactly trying to achieve. Because at the end of the day, I only recruit engineers, and engineers only join a company when they're actually excited about solving the problem a company is facing. And so all the conversation are now oriented towards that. And yeah, that's kind of my quick take on what I mean with AI native recruitment. And by all means, the system is still not perfect. I'm still a lot of stuff is breaking. My apologies to all the people that I'm wasting time to, because like I said, I'm building tools that people are trying out. I'm getting feedback. But to me, I enjoy way more being a recruiter these days because I am so close to the tech. I'm so close to the engineers. I'm learning so much from people, and I'm getting to a point, like, because all I do is spend time talking to brilliant people. I use too much people here, but engineers start to learn stuff from me on how I use AI, because I'm a naive guy. I don't know what it's like to code or to build products pre-AI. So I think right now humans are the bottleneck to most of the things. And so if you look at someone like me who's just entering the game so fresh and naive, I build stuff without any biases or any like, oh, but this is very hard because XYZ. I don't know. I'm just naive and I'm just getting into it. And if I enjoy solving a problem, I don't mind spending 50 hours on it. And so, long story short, to say that I feel like this AI stuff, it's not about automating my job. It's about becoming the best recruiter I possibly can be, and to now really start to focus on how valuable can I truly be. Because yeah, that's where we're at. So anyway, this is a video that I really wanted to make. It makes it more clear. If it sounds interesting for you as a recruiter out there, feel free to reach out. If you happen to watch this as an engineer, feel free to reach out. I'm all about connecting with people. I love this stuff. This is one of the most exciting times to be alive. I genuinely believe it. But if you do not spend the time to look into it, that excitement that some people will have will turn into anxiety. And I don't wish that to anyone. Thanks for your time. Cheers.